Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Department of Management, I would like to welcome this evening Amy Burke, that will be talking to you tonight about 1.5 hours or 1 hour and 15 minutes about mindfulness in career development. Is it right?
That is correct.
Excellent. So your floor.
Great. Thank you so much. Very kind of you, thank you. I needed that because I was on time and early, but then got lost, and didn't even actually get lost, but I was in a lobby for one main entrance and stood there for a while, and Andre had given me a wonderful map and told me where the room was, but I am no good with maps. I don't know where I'm going or what I'm doing. So finally he found me and brought me here. Then I realized my lucky bracelet is gone. Bummer. So I have to just go on without it. So if I don't have a good presentation, it'll be because I lost my bracelet. And then I don't have an elastic. And usually I have an elastic because my hair drives me crazy. But I will take that elastic. Okay, so I will use this at some point during the presentation. So where's my bracelet now? Thank you very much. And thank you for showing up on what I'm sure is a busy week and busy schedule, because we all are busy. And I'm just going to go right into the presentation. So I know that there was a bit of an advertisement on Facebook, and you kind of got a little bit of a sense of what this is all about, but I know that it wasn't like full explanation. So I'm very impressed that you show up when you're not exactly sure what it's all going to be about. And I also appreciate that I'm doing this in English, and it's most likely your second language. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate that usually I speak very quickly, so I'm going to try my best to practice being mindful and remind myself to slow down. But I get excited sometimes, and particularly about this topic. So if at any point something I've said does not make sense, please just stop me and say, Amy, I don't understand, or what did you say? And I will try my best to explain it. So here's my official title of this presentation: Contemporary and Contemplative Approaches to Career Planning. So I've got both this sort of contemplative tradition and more modern tradition that I'm sort of bringing together. But really it's this. Really it's directing your life in the way that you want. And career is a big part of that, about how, and a big part of how we live our lives. But that's really what I'm here to talk to you guys about. And I'm going to share from my own personal and professional experience in my own life about the direction I went, and coupled with sort of some more theoretical type things to see, just to show you sort of my point of view on this. Anything you can take it or leave it. So this is what I see is you guys coming here because you're interested in gathering a bit more information about something. And whatever resonates with you, whatever makes sense to you from what I say, then you keep that with you. If I say some things that don't make sense to you, or doesn't resonate or touch you, then forget about it, right? You're here to take what works for you. So who am I? Who am I? My name is Amy, and I'm from Ottawa, Ontario, in Canada. I'm Canadian. And for 15 years, I spent as a high school teacher and also a guidance counselor. And guidance counselor in Canada, we are responsible for helping young people choose their courses, figure out what path they want to take. At high school here, do you have guidance counselors in Czech Republic? Somebody who helps you figure out your future? I see shaking, not so much, okay. So that was a position I had, was helping young people figure out what they're going to do, what courses to take in high school, but then also what to do after in college or university. And then I moved to the Netherlands, and I worked there for a while doing the same things, and then moved to Prague, where I live now. And I'll tell you more about that as we go. But before we go, I want to introduce you to my brother-in-law. This is Jared in Canada. This is actually 2 years ago, not this winter, but this winter looks exactly the same. So this is him. He built this, he calls it his snowfa that he's sitting on, and his 2 dogs. Jared, I show you a picture of Jared because ever since he was a tiny young boy, his mom says, he knew what he wanted to be. Oh, the whole, like tiny little kid, all the way up, never changed his mind. I want to be a chef. I want to work in a restaurant. I want to be a chef. I want to be a head chef. He is a head chef. He knew what he wanted, and he went and did that. He knew so early that he even knew what courses to take at school, in high school, and then he knew what he needed to take in high school so that after he would go to culinary school and went to a top culinary institute. He knew the whole time. Are you guys like Jared? You guys know exactly what you want to do? No. Maybe you do. Some of us do, and that's great. But many of us have no idea what we want to do. And in fact, when I was a guidance counselor and trying to help 17, 18-year-olds figure out their path and figure out what to do, they would come to me and they'd say, you know, what courses should I take? And I'd be like, I don't know. You know, I wasn't much help. I was like, I don't know. But they would say, what do I take because I want to, you know, do well? And I'm like, well, it was just really difficult. So I would ask them, well, what are you passionate about? Have you ever heard that? Does it help? Not so much, right? And I would ask them this, and I'm supposed to be the adult who knows things, who knows what to do. And they would say, I don't know what I'm passionate about. Hello. And so I stopped asking that question because it wasn't helpful. It didn't get them anywhere. So I'd ask them, well, what do you like to do? And then I'd get a few more answers, and I can remember some specifically. This Kyle, this kid, he's like, well, I really like skateboarding. I was like, okay, tell me more about skateboarding. Tell me more about that. So he'd start to tell me about it, and he would sort of lighten up a little bit. His eyes would start to sparkle. He'd be more engaged and sort of just excited about things. So he's telling me this, and I'm thinking, what am I going to do? We don't have skateboarding classes. I can't tell him to take skateboarding. What will I do? And so I didn't really have an answer, but I would kind of say to him, well, I know we don't have skateboarding classes, but what kind of things about skateboarding could you do in school? So the movement classes or the physical education, it still wasn't perfect at all, but I was trying to get them to listen a bit more to themselves, to what they like to do. But it was hard. So I'm going to stop the story there for a minute. And actually, because I'm going to spend a lot of time talking, I want to spend some of the time not talking. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to introduce you to a little activity. So I'll do a few activities with you over the course of the evening as well. And this one, actually before we even do the activity, do you mind standing up for a second? I'm going to invite you to stand up. Anything I ask you to do is up to you. You can do it or not do it. Behind those desks, do you have room to like move your leg like this? No? Can you get somewhere, even if it's in the aisle where you have room, to do this? Even if you come up here or back there. But move around. We sit around too much all day long. You might need to balance too against the wall or something. I'm going to show you what we're going to do. Thank you for, giving it a go. And again, like I said, anything I ask you to do, it's actually not an ask, it's an invitation. So it's inviting you to stand and do this. If you want to, you can. You don't have to. I don't care. In a nice way. I don't care. But because I want to get the sort of energy up a little bit, I'm going to ask you just standing, just to get a sense of standing. So maybe bending your knees a little bit, so you take the pressure off the low back. And just, actually, why don't we just stamp your feet a little bit? And then we can stop that. So just getting a sense of standing here. And then just leaning a little bit. You lean a little bit back and forth. Okay, and you guys, if you lean to your left, I'm going the other way, but you lean to your left. And actually, you're going to need your left leg is going to support you now. And you're going to raise your right knee up. So if you need balance, that's fine. Kind of to 90 degrees if you can. And move the foot in a clockwise direction if you can. Okay? Concentrate on that. Don't forget to breathe. We sometimes forget to breathe. But now the goal is, can we keep the leg moving in the clockwise direction, but draw the letter 6. The number 6 in the air. But keep the leg going. Can you keep that leg going? What's happening? What happens? It's not going, it doesn't stay, right? I don't know the answer. I don't know how to do it, but it's just the challenge. So thank you for that, and it's just to get things moving. Actually, while you're standing up, can you just walk around aimlessly? So just walking around, and then just walk around. Leave your things, walk around, and in a moment, so just sort of cruise around. In a moment, I'm going to ask you to stop. I'm going to ask you to stop now. Stop your heart. And turn to somebody next to you, because you need a partner for this next activity. Even if you don't know them, find somebody, please. Who needs somebody? Because this is a talking when you need somebody. Susanna, are you? Who else? Oh, there's a. Do we each have somebody? You need somebody? Can we do? Can you do? Nay. Okay, I will do it with you. Okay, you come down. Please come on down. So what are you doing? So scary. Not scary. I'm going to ask you. Oh, the person who is wearing the darkest colored shirt. Try to figure out between you who's got the darkest shirt, and you're person A. If you both have black, you just him because you have white on your shirt, so you're the darkest. Yeah. So partner A, you're gonna go first, and then partner B will do that exact same thing, and it's kind of quick. Like, don't think too much, and you have about 3 minutes to do the whole thing. So just a minute and a half each, and it's this. Imagine 3 parallel universes. Okay, maybe I'll give you 2 minutes each. 2 minutes each. In each, you have a year to try any kind of work that you want. What 3 jobs would you be excited to try and why? Partner A, answer. Don't think. Go for it. And then B, you start whenever you're done. So, thank you very much. And I just want you just to sort of tune in a little bit to your own self here. What did it, just for your own answering in your head, like, what did it feel like to talk about those? Did they come easily for me, these ideas of what I could do in a parallel universe? Or was it hard for me to think of some? Just noticing for yourself how that was for you. What I noticed in a lot of cases was a lot of smiling. Smiling and faces that were sort of brighter. Kind of like that student Kyle that I was with, talking about the skateboarding, right? Just a different kind of energy was coming up. So I just want you to sort of touch into that energy or to sense that a little bit. And if you don't have it, that is also okay. It's a recognition of, I don't really, have a creative idea of what I want to do. No problem. I want to tell you right now, there are no right or wrong answers in all of this. It's an exploration, right? And an exploration into yourself, basically. So thanks for having a go at that. That aliveness, that little bit of energy, that's what I was noticing in my students when I was working with them. And then I realized, well, that to me has a key. That is a clue or a key to figuring out what you want to do with your life. Even if it is skateboarding or video games or something, there are clues in there. So what I feel like when I hear and sort of walk around listening to you guys, there's a bit of an aliveness. And years ago when I was doing this work with students, I came across this quote, and it's been the foundation of my work ever since. Do not ask yourself what the world needs. Ask yourself what makes you come alive, and then go and do that. Because what the world needs is people who have come alive. And so I love this quote. I'm like, yes, that's what I want to teach young people. Yeah. How am I going to do that? How do you do that? And over the years, and what I've come to develop recently, is basically this formula, which is what this presentation is about. Contemplative practices, which I'll explain, plus a contemporary, so a modern idea, which is design thinking, combining them both together to help young people become internally referential. That is a lot. So, hang on. So the presentation is going to be talking about these 2 kinds of things to help young people. So what do I mean by internally referential? And I'm not sure. I kind of have an idea. But my husband asked me, he's like, well, what does internally referential mean? And I said, well, I have my own idea of what that is, but I think it's helpful for you guys to have this, just based on this term, maybe if you're just talking to somebody next to you or behind you, there's no right or wrong here. What do you think internally referential means? Maybe just 30 seconds, have a little chit chat. What do you think that means? Internally. So there are some ideas there, or you're just chit-chatting, trying to figure it out. But can I ask you, or some of you want to share, like, what does that mean to you, internally referential? Give it a shot, so we get a few different definitions, maybe. Yes.
It's like listening to your inner intuition.
I'm done. The end. You got it. Okay. So your idea is listening to the intuition. Great. More ideas. Anybody else want to share? Yeah.
People or quotes that you agree with and inspire you and motivate you.
Right. Some ideas and things that motivate and inspire you. Wonderful. Anybody else want to throw in their idea there?
Some references from the past for myself when I'm taking the ideas from.
Right. So things from the past that have happened to me, referring to those, having those as part of my knowledge. Yeah. Great. Yeah. All of those are great. It's for me, it has, I came up with this definition because I was trying to explain it to my husband, but it's something about internal. It's like yourself. Let me show you my confusing definition for me. So an awareness and understanding of, and respect and trust for, inner knowledge. Something internal, right? So that you can refer to your own inner self. So often in our lives, we gather information from external sources. For me, talking to you guys, other teachers, other friends, parents, the media, external stuff, right? So we define ourselves based on the external references. But we don't get a lot of time at actually sort of looking inwards, or not looking so much as listening to the internal self. And so I think what part of my work with the younger people at high school is what I'm doing now with people your age is this idea of how can I listen to what I want to do? How can I listen to myself to figure out where I want to go? And is that possible? And how do I do that? So that's what this is about, trying to do it. So working with young people, there's this book called The Soul of Education. And this is about 17 and 18-year-olds, but this woman, there's a reason why I'm telling it to you. So this woman, Kessler, worked with adolescents for 30 years. And she says, this is what I heard them say to me that they need. Silence, meaning and purpose, joy, creativity, transcendence, so connecting with an idea that's bigger than themselves, initiation, like belonging and rituals, and deep connection. But not just deep connection to others, they're also looking for a deep connection to themselves. And I don't think that that's just the realm of 17 and 18-year-olds. I mean, I feel many of these things as well. And I feel like I would like a deep connection with others and myself. She said specifically, though, for healthy adolescent development, she said, oh, she didn't say that. She said, there are certain questions that young people are wondering. Things like this. Called the mystery questions. And I don't know about you guys, but when I was 17 and 18 years old at school, I certainly didn't talk about this stuff. It was kind of up to me to sort of figure that out and maybe talk to my friends about it. She said that the capacity to be in relationship to one's inner life is critical for the development of autonomy, which is building a healthy identity that's central to adolescent development. And the reason why I'm talking about adolescence is because it's just, again, to reflect on, what kind of messages or learning did I get in my adolescence? Did teachers or counselors or parents talk to me about the meaning and purpose of life or listening to my inner guide, right? I didn't have that experience. I did actually with my father. I'll tell you a bit more about him in a minute. But at the same time, as these, I was learning about this stuff and trying to help young people and trying to help them figure out what to do with their lives, I was trying to figure out what to do with my life. So I was a teacher at the time and guidance counselor, but I was also in a marriage that I knew I had to leave. So I had to leave my marriage, and I did that. It was very, very difficult. And very shortly after that, my father died, who was my best friend, who had been part of the person who had helped me with a lot of these kinds of questions and stuff. So I had a really bad time for a while. Makes sense, right? You have a hard time in life. And I moved in to my mom's house. I had a good relationship with my mom, thankfully. And I moved into my mom's house, and I moved into her basement. I was still teaching full time, and I was trying to figure out, kids would come to me in the day and be like, what do I do with my life? And I'd sit there and be like, what do I do with mine, right? What do I do with mine? So, I was trying to help them at the same time that I was helping myself. And what I did do, very deliberately, once I got out of the deep grieving, so in the deep grieving period, there's kind of nothing I could do. I just couldn't do much. But as I started to come out of that, I started doing some more contemplative practices, things my dad had taught me that had been helpful to me before. So things like mindfulness and meditation, journaling and writing and reflection, some yoga, some tai chi. So I deliberately started doing that in my personal life just to try to get myself feeling healthier and back on track and to start listening to myself. Writing for me was a really good way of doing it, but different things work for different people. To just sort of figure out not where I was going so much, but where am I now? What is going on for me right now? And then professionally, I decided to also, while I was teaching, to also take a master's program. And I took a master's in something called contemplative education. These are the 3 pillars to contemplative ed, which is traditional academics, normal kind of learning stuff, experiential learning, and contemplative inquiry. So mindfulness and meditation practice was a compulsory component of this 2-year program. So meditating and learning to understand how our mind works, all of that was a compulsory part of the program. So that was really helping me to have a more sort of regular practice. And then they were interested not just in you reading all these articles and writing all these essays, but they wanted to know your own subjective experience. So not just objective facts being thrown at you and you spit them back out, but how do you feel when you learn that? What does it mean to you? And all that kind of stuff. So I was exploring that, just inner knowledge and realizing that the way we gain knowledge, or for me anyway, was not just from the brain in my head. Okay, we all have that. But there are other ways of learning. And I think lots of times our school systems and our university systems and college systems are built in a way that teach directly, really, just to the left side of the brain, to the logical, linear, certain skill set. And there's much more to our brains than just that, lecturing, writing, and that kind of stuff. And so this master's program helped me to realize that, because I was doing more kind of experiential things, connecting more with nature, all sorts of stuff that was part of the actual program to help me learn more about myself. And I also learned that we actually don't have one brain. Have you heard of this idea? That we have 3 brains, actually? Maybe you've heard of it. So we have the brain that's in our head, that, 3-pound pile of gunk, right? The organ, that's in the head, right? But apparently, some of the, research is starting to show that we have what's called a brain in our heart and a brain in our gut. Now, not actually a brain, but there's subcortical neural networks, like nerve endings, lots of nerve endings that sort of are around our heart, parts of our nervous system, and in our gut. So there are actually different ways that we can gain knowledge, not just from that left side of our brain, but by listening to and thinking with the whole body. So, I'm going to give you a bit more information on this. In his book, Focus, Daniel Goleman refers to this, and he calls it the inner rudder, the thing that steers a boat, right? And he says this: it's a particular form of self-awareness that arises from really listening to and decoding the internal cues from our body. We hold information from past experiences in our subcortical neural networks, which are connected with the gut. So this idea of thinking with the whole body, and there's more research on this, but I wanted to get into more of the doing rather than the talking. Having said that, I just want to take one moment to say if there's like anything you're interested in throughout this presentation, or at the end of it, just to take my email address and email me, and I can send you more of the research or some of the slides or whatever. So I just wanted to let you know that. And I can send you to some of the slides, like this presentation if that's helpful. So, how do you think with your whole body? Well, I think one of the ways to do it is to develop the ability to connect with different contemplative practices. And I've got a handout with this. It's hard to read from there, but it offers different kinds of practices. Mindfulness is not, the only contemplative practice. There are many. But most of them have some sort of component of either internal reflection or connecting with the body. Like there's a whole movement branch here of walking meditation, qigong, yoga, dance, tai chi. Like there's something to do with connecting with the body here. Here are some other ones. So there's all sorts of them. We certainly don't have time to do all of them. I want to see if we can do a couple of them, though, together here tonight. So a bit of mindfulness and maybe a bit of silence. And I think I can do the other two with you as well before moving into the contemporary aspect, the designing part. So just in terms of mindfulness per se, can I just see, do people have experience with mindfulness? Can you just show me if you have experience with mindfulness? Okay, so even if it's a tiny bit. So many of you at least have a bit of experience, some of you not. It's no problem at all. But I'm not going to do a whole introduction to mindfulness because that's not necessarily what this particular presentation is about. But just want to give you a bit of an idea here. This is from mindfulness-based cognitive therapy, this idea of two modes of mind in general. That we have the thinking mode of mind, and this is the mode that I was talking about in a way that it sort of appeals to our logical brain, to the prefrontal cortex, comparing, planning, analyzing, goal setting. It's super important. It's the part of the brain that got you here tonight, or got me partway here, but then I got lost, so it didn't work so much for me. But so the thinking part, and this is the part that schools sort of appeal to. That's what we do. But there's another mode that we have. It's a sensing mode, and it's as simple as this. Connecting in with our senses. But a majority of the way our particular society is set up and our education systems are set up is really just to activate that thinking mode. There's nothing wrong with that. That's awesome. We need that thinking mode. But we need also to connect in with this other part of being a human being, which is connecting with our senses. We did a little bit already just by having you stand up and sense into your feet and stuff. But a lot of mindfulness practice actually does happen in the sensing mode. Because with mindfulness, we often get the sense that our mind is either out here planning or the future, figuring out what to do, or worrying about the past or regretting something. But we're not often kind of actually here, but our body is. Like our body is in the present moment. So the more we can connect in with our body, the more helpful it is to sort of get, notice the mind is doing that crazy thing like worry, and being like, okay, I'm worrying, but I'm going to bring my mind back. And how do I bring it back? By sensing into the body. So I want to do just a little bit of a different kind of mindfulness activity for you guys. And I'm going to invite you to stand up for this one as well. And this one's going to be solo. It's on your own. And you don't need a lot of, what am I going to do? Oh yeah. You're not going to be twirling your legs or arms or anything like that. But what we'll do is, we need to wake up the body a little bit. And I think one of the easiest ways to do that without a lot of movement is to do a little bit of tapping. So I invite you, if you want, just to start tapping your head. Tap all around. Front and back. And notice the sound it makes. Notice the sensations. Like around the top of the head or even around the hairline a little bit. Does the sound change? Right, noticing that. And then we'll bring it down to the face a little bit. So forehead, around your nose, around your cheeks. You can go a little bit harder on the jaw. Sometimes you keep a lot of tension there. And the neck a little bit. You could do the back of the neck a little bit. And then actually we can start tapping the chest. I've got a microphone, so I gotta be careful here, and actually just as best you can, just give it a little good tap. Now take one hand and go across the shoulder and down one arm. And then flip it over, clap it up. Coming across, same thing on the other side. Tap down, flip up, around. Okay, back to the chest. Now in a moment we're going to move to the stomach, but you want to tap a little more lightly on the stomach. Okay, so coming down to the stomach, a little light, especially if you've eaten. Right, tapping there. Then you can go harder on the hips. Then we're going to go down one leg. So both hands down one leg, front and back, all the way to the foot. Get your foot too. Get that foot. All the way back up. Okay, next leg, going all the way down. Don't forget the foot. Back up. Hips again. And then get your butt. Right? Okay, and then just sort of shaking what you need to do a little bit. And then coming to stillness where you are. And coming to stillness, and maybe even like just lowering your gaze. So you don't have to close your eyes, but just lower your gaze a bit and tune into the body. What is the body telling you right now? So just, I'm going to ask these questions, but just see what comes up internally for you. Okay, maybe you're noticing some warmth, maybe some tingling or fizzing. Maybe your heart's beating a little more quickly. But just, what information is your body giving you? Is the blood flowing a bit more? Can you sense into even that? Tuning into your breathing. Maintaining this silence, moving with awareness back to your seat, but it's still part of the practice. So moving yourself with awareness back to your seat, maintaining the silence, coming to sit down. And coming to sit down. And just, again, even if your eyes are open, you can either look at me or just lower your gaze a bit forward. And still, can you sense into the body right now? Maybe noticing, is the heart still beating fast, or is it slowed down a little bit? Do you notice any sort of like residual tingling, even though it's not as strong, but tingling left in the body anywhere? And then coming to tune into the breathing, to your breath. It's not trying to change the breath at all, it's just really noticing it. Where do I sense it most? Is it in the nostrils? Maybe I notice it in my chest, the movement. Maybe I notice it in my belly, my abdomen is moving a little bit, just connecting in with the breath. And then taking one or two intentional breaths for yourself, like intentionally, like a breath, like in and out at your own time. Maybe it's a little deeper than normal. And if your eyes happen to be closed, you can feel free to open them, and you can sort of let go of that and move in any way you need to. So with the tapping, it's just a way of energizing the body. It's a good way to wake up in the morning. 2 minutes of that. And then I've sort of brought you into sort of a seated mindfulness practice. You know, went from standing to noticing what's happening in the body to sitting and then tuning in with the breath. There are all sorts of different ways to practice mindfulness, and that was just one of them. And it might have been very easy for you to do that. It might have been very difficult for you to do that. Again, there's no right or wrong. What we're learning to do is just to be with whatever is happening right now. So the reason why I wanted you to get an experience of it, because it's better than just talking about it, right? But a bit of experience about it too, because particularly the silence is something that can help us for reflection and for learning to listen a bit more. Do you know this term, insight? It's like getting an idea, sort of. And lots of times we have ideas but because we're not quiet or still, because usually we're running around all day and learning and talking and texting, and because there's no time to just be or slow down, it's possible that we can miss some of these ideas. When we just slow down a little bit, sometimes even a problem we might have been thinking about really hard, like over and over and over again, you stop actively thinking about it for a moment, and sometimes an answer can come to you. Or you can be out for a walk and something can come to you. So just this sometimes mindfulness practice can help us to have insight, to have the ideas that are deeper down to sort of come out. And one other thing I want to tell you about mindfulness practice that's useful for development and planning our lives and figuring out our careers is that the insula is activated during meditative states. And it's the part of the brain that's connected with self-awareness, body awareness, and also decision-making. And this self-awareness and decision-making are certainly going to be really helpful to try to figure out what I want to do with my life. And then, of course, the body awareness helps us to be more in tune with our bodies so we can be more present with what's happening in our lives. So, now I need to take a moment to think. I need to look at my phone, not because I'm texting, but because the time. So I've got a bunch of activities planned, but I want to make sure I give you the ones that are most useful to you. Okay, does everybody have something to write with, a pen and a piece of paper? And if you, yeah. Okay. So I'm going to lead you through a writing activity. The writing that you do is for you. It's not going to be shared with anybody. You can rip it up and throw it out later. It's all for you, right? So it's private. And contemplative writing, because I'm not just going to give you a few questions and say, okay, write this down and write the answers to this, but we're going to work through it. So there's 5 steps to the writing. And the writing you can do, of course, in your own language, your native tongue, that's fine. And really we'll be connecting in with the body as well as we write. I'll stop talking about it and just do it. Okay. So I'm going to do it with you. Okay. All right. So before we begin, actually, even just where we're at, you know, many of us are ready. We're poised to write. You know, we got that pen or pencil. So just taking a moment to, I want to say, sense into the body. And what do I mean by that? To really, like, bring the attention and awareness. Like, what does it feel like to be holding this pen? I'm just noticing that there's actually something there, right? An extension of my hand. And again, just tuning into the breath. And we're going to move through the writing more slowly, probably, than you're used to. So noticing what comes up for you, like, hurry up, or that's boring, or whatever. Just notice what comes up, right? So we're getting more familiar with our own habits, with our own tendencies of thought, right? Just getting more familiar with ourselves. So I'm going to go through this writing. There's about 5 steps, and yeah, we'll just go from there. The first thing I'd like you to do is this. Think of a problem or dilemma that you're facing in your personal or professional life. So a problem you're having right now. It can be small. It doesn't have to be a giant problem. and just to express it in one sentence. Now you might need a moment or two to think of a dilemma or think of a problem. So just wait for a moment to see for you what comes up. A dilemma or a problem, and just write it in one sentence only. Problem or dilemma, and write it in one sentence. And if no problems or dilemmas are coming up for you, awesome. Enjoy it, right? If you got nothing, that's fine. Just sit there, no problem. When you're done writing, it's just always, I'm going to always direct you to tune back in, just to myself. And even if you tune back in, all of a sudden you're thinking about what to eat for dinner, or you're thirsty, or just come on back to feeling that pen. Okay? So the next step is just to write more about that. So there's no limit. We'll probably write for about 2 minutes, but write as much as you want about that problem or dilemma. And just where you are right now, again, just however you're sitting or standing, can you, again, bring your attention to the body? Can you remember what it felt like when you sat down after we did the tapping? Is there any tiny little bit of that sensation left anywhere in your body? Just tune in. There may be, there may not be. Is there any tingling or stinging anywhere left over? And if not, no problem, just tuning into the sense of breathing. Again, to noticing what thoughts might be around for you right now. Noticing how you feel in your body now that you're writing about this particular problem. Does that show up anywhere in your body? Like, is there a sensation of the problem somewhere? Is there a tightness? A weird feeling in the stomach maybe? I don't know. Just sort of, it might be different for everybody. Just scanning through the body. What's going on in my body now that I'm writing about this particular dilemma? Coming back to sense the pen in your hand. And if your eyes were closed, opening them. And coming to the next directive, which is this. To synthesize this dilemma in any 10 words. So it doesn't have to be a full sentence, but any 10 words that kind of explain this thing that you've been writing about. Any 10 words, any order, anywhere on the page, but only 10. And tuning in, did that come easy for you? Is it frustrating? Are you getting a bit mad? Are you happy? Just notice. Okay. Step 4. Make a visual representation of this dilemma or problem. So basically, draw it. About 2 minutes for this. Okay. Coming to finish up that masterpiece drawing. So just tuning into that, and actually just taking a moment before we get to the last stage is just, again, of course, the usual, just sort of checking in. And maybe now, since you've been drawing, just tuning into, just allowing for, a little bit of stillness, sensing into what it feels like to sit on this chair, and just seeing if any other images, pictures, or anything sort of float up for you about this dilemma or problem. They may not, but just allowing for a bit of space. And adding to your drawing if anything else came up for you or not. Maybe even just tuning in with your breath again. Okay. And the last step is actually just to write about the process. So just to write about, like, how was doing this for you? Good, bad, boring, great, whatever. How was it? And just about 2 minutes for this as well. If you're still writing about that, you can come to conclude whatever thought you have. And I invite you now to just, if you like, just with somebody next to you or behind you, not to talk about what you wrote about, that's private, but just how was doing that activity for you? How did you find that? Reflect on it. I liked it, I didn't like it. Just, it's important to share out loud if you can, just for about a minute. How was that for you? How did that go? So, again, there's absolutely no right or wrong answer. I'm just curious if anybody wants to share, just in general, like, how was that for you?
Painful.
Painful. Can you tell me more about that?
It was about my feelings.
Oh, because it was about your feelings. So you found you were writing about your feelings?
Yes.
Yeah, and you found that uncomfortable?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. And how did you know you felt uncomfortable?
Because I wasn't happy about that.
Yeah. Okay. And you noticed the unhappiness a bit, or the discomfort? Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. It's not always easy, right, to write about something difficult. And we're working on this ability to be able to tune in and to connect with how we are feeling. So thank you for that. Anybody else have a similar, different, anything? Yeah, go ahead.
I felt a bit of frustration at first, and then I felt relief after I wrote all the things down.
Okay, so you started with some frustration, you noticed, and then later on some relief came a bit for you. Okay, great. Can I ask you about the relief part? Like, how did you know you felt relieved? Like, what?
Because the celodenní thoughts were on the paper, and they weren't in my head anymore.
Yeah. So the thoughts weren't in my head anymore. I put them on paper. Yeah. Thank you. For some people, that's helpful, just to get it out. Even if there's no solution, sometimes just getting it out can be helpful in some ways. But for others, not. Again, we're just investigating to see what kinds of things work for me in terms of reflecting. Anybody else? Any other ones?
I was frustrated because I've been thinking about this dilemma for quite a while. And when I put it down on paper, it kind of felt like, okay, what is the next step? Like, okay, what am I going to do about it? And that, yeah, that's I guess frustration.
So I'm frustrated, I've got this problem, I've been thinking about it for a long time, I put it on paper, it's still there, right? So frustrated, yeah. So recognition of, again, of how I'm feeling right now. Thank you. One thing I want to say with this is, so it's just like, have you ever done writing in that way before? I see some kind of yes, most no's, whatever. So it's the idea that it's just a bit of a different way of doing it. It's slowing down, it's taking time, and you're writing, but you're also drawing, right? And you're also tuning in. So what we're doing here is we're just trying to, certainly we're using some of our left logical brain and our prefrontal cortex, but we're also trying to, and it's a new skill, but trying to tune in a little bit to the body. And the insight necessarily won't come. Your solution to your problem didn't come magically, unfortunately. I wish I could give you that magic, but it doesn't work that way. But again, we're just trying to develop different ways of looking at things, or looking at a problem, in fact. And my advice to people who right now have this thing and are still frustrated, I would just say wait. Wait a little while. You've done all the thinking you can about it. You've done all the writing you can about it. You've probably talked about it with people a lot. And now just wait, right? Because at a certain point, you won't be done as much as you can do. So let time play a little role in helping to solve that dilemma. So for that, we need to develop some patience, and we need to develop the ability to be okay with discomfort. can I be okay with things when things are uncomfortable? Mindfulness can help with that, right? Being able to stay with what is, even if it's a bit difficult. And also the recognition that things aren't always going to be perfect. We don't always have the answer, particularly about what we want to do with our lives. And I want to tell you that that's okay. Okay, so I'm going to move into the next part of this. I'm going to start to close off the contemplative piece and move more into the contemporary one. Thank you, all of you, for having a go at that. Another thing I was going to do with you guys, but time doesn't permit, is a guided visualization. But it was just an idea where you start thinking about, it kind of links in with the parallel universes that we did at the beginning of the session. Just imagining where you are. It's 5 years from now and you wake up somewhere. What does your room look like? Where are you going to work? What kind of job do you have? And even though you don't know the answer, because it's a sort of a meditation, we lead you through it. It's just sort of an, addressing the sort of more imaginative side of our brain. Okay, so that's something that maybe if I come back another time I can do with you. But I want to move on a little bit. Another thing I've done often is something called a vision board. Do you guys know? Have you ever heard of a vision board? If I show you one. Okay, so these are mine. The vision board, I have a wonderful article about it that I would love to send to you. If you're interested in it, I'll send it to you. Because it looks kind of silly, right? Basically, it's cutting pictures out of a magazine and pasting them on. So it feels like you're in lower school, right? Cutting and pasting. But there's more rationale and reasoning behind it. And it's actually having to do, again, with engaging a different part of your brain. Not that cutting pictures out of a magazine and putting them on a board is going to automatically make your future for you. But it is, like I said, it's about cultivating the other aspects of our ways we can think. And there's a great, I've done it, about every 2 years I do one. And some of the things on it come true, so it's kind of freaky. But anyway, if you're interested in it, I think it's another great way, even though it looks crazy and silly. And I want to say that I find these kinds of things I've been teaching you, a bit of mindfulness, the contemplative writing, vision boarding, when you cut and paste about what you want your future to be, doesn't really seem that like modern or advanced or helpful. It seems kind of weird, right? We talk about the 21st century, right? And that you guys need all these skills to find success in the 21st century. The main model that we have as educators is, you know, that we need to teach students and young people. Media, technology skills, absolutely. Critical thinking, collaboration, group work, the core subjects, so whatever you happen to be studying, economics or whatever you're interested in. And then over here we've got these career and life skills. But I know when I was teaching high school, when I do work with young people, like you guys, we don't necessarily teach you about life and career skills. But I actually think that all those contemplative things that are a little bit weird, that they can actually help, because what I think in terms of what's important for the 21st century is this. Understanding ourselves, our minds, bodies, and emotions, that's a key life skill. And contemplative practice, meditation and mindfulness can help with that. And I think that at your age in particular, you need this understanding of how the mind works and how the body works. And you guys, I don't know if you know this, but you guys are in a developmental stage right now, most of you I think, which is called the emerging adult. This is from ages 18 to 29. Okay, are you in there somewhere? 18 to 29. So now this is a relatively new developmental stage. It's not to say that people haven't been 18 years old before, but we used to have, you know, developmental stages like infant, toddler, preteen, teenager, and then you used to go to adult. Now, because the way society has been changing over the past few decades, there's actually sociologists are saying, you know, there's this new kind of group of people, and they're called emerging adults, apparently. Emerging adults. It's kind of a new term. This is what I was taught when I was in high school. You're single, then you get into a relationship, then you get married, have children, they turn out to be teenagers, they leave, and you retire. Life. Perfect. And I can tell by the reaction that we know that life doesn't work out like this, and particularly at your stage, it's not like this necessarily. But we have this idea still that it's supposed to be that way. And I'm here to tell you it's not. Okay? It's not. But just like the adolescents have all these questions, apparently emerging adults, there are these kinds of questions happening. So these are the kinds of wonderings that you might be having. And I still have them at my age. I'm not an emerging adult, but I still, who am I? What's going on? What career should I have? What job should I do? Do I want to be married? Where do I want to live? How will I make money? All of this is happening at your stage, and it should be happening. That's what you're doing. And you're at a critical juncture of decision making. What do I continue with my studies? Do I change my program? What do I do after I graduate? What the hell is going on, right? Just what do I do? So part of this whole being internally referential and learning to listen to yourself is trying to help with this idea of decision making. But here's the thing I want to say, of course, is this. Confusion is normal. It's absolutely normal. This idea that we're supposed to know what's going on is wrong. That is a wrong idea, and I'll explain that a little bit more. So I'm in here somewhere. Back when I was an emerging adult. That is the last day of university. We were moving out, my friends and I were moving out of our homes and going our separate ways. And I didn't know exactly what I was going to do, but I took a 4-year program and I took film studies. I learned how to make movies. Not useful for me. I knew I wanted to go to university because that was something I wanted to do. I liked studying, I liked going to classes, so I was lucky enough that I could go to university, and it was my choice. I had to take a student loan. My parents couldn't pay for it. I took tons of student loan, and for me, it was the best money I ever spent. Not because I was always going to classes, but because I learned a lot of life lessons, and I also did get a decent degree. But halfway through my last year, I was like, film studies? I'm not going to Hollywood. I'm not an actress. I'm not going to do this for a living. One of my friends did. He went on to do it, and he got nominated for an Oscar. What? It was amazing. Okay, so he did that. He made documentaries, but I wasn't going to do that. And I thought, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And I decided, well, I'll go to teacher's college. But it wasn't like, oh, I want to be a teacher. I totally want to be a teacher. I was like, maybe I'll give it a shot. I'll try that out. But I didn't have the right credits that I needed to get into a teaching degree. So I worked for a year in the government and did night school to get the appropriate credits. So then I could apply to teachers college, went to teachers college, and became a teacher, and then tried to help kids and had no idea what I was doing. But but along the way, at this age, I was feeling a little bit like, I'm not sure what I'll do, but maybe I'll do this, and I'll see how it goes. And I was lucky enough that at this time my dad was still alive, and I was lucky enough that during this time he was supporting me in this, like, sure, give it a shot, see what you think. And I didn't have the pressure that some people have from their parents about, you need to do this. I was lucky I didn't have that pressure. But what I was lucky about also was that I had my dad who was coaching me to listen more to myself. And even though I didn't know exactly if I wanted to be a teacher, I was like, I'll give it a shot and go for it. And I started to see how it went. And it wasn't until about 5 years ago when I stopped being a teacher to do this kind of work more fully. So it was another decision I had to make, but life changes, okay? So I want to tell you a bit more about that. So what my dad was doing is he was helping me to become, and coming back to this point, being internally referential. And mostly because he was teaching me about mindfulness and meditation. And I realized that when I was working with young people that I would do that, contemplative practices, trying to help them and coach them into thinking a bit more internally referential, trusting themselves. But it wasn't until very recently when I came across this, and now I'm moving into this second part of the contemporary, the modern approaches. And I want to show you this book, you guys. Where did I put it? It's called Designing Your Life. Same book, is different cover. And I just want to say to you right now that I recommend you get this, and I'm for real, and read it. I've been doing this work for a long time. This is the best resource, and I'll send you an email and you can look at this. It's the best resource I've ever found, and I want to share a little bit with it a little bit about it with you right now. So I just want to tell you the story behind this too, but these guys, so Bill Burnett and Dave Evans are designers. Like literally, like one of them helped design the Apple computer, like the hinges on the computer. They're designers from Stanford University in California. And they created something called the Design Lab at their university. And what they did is they took design thinking, so the same kind of thinking that you bring to creating products, and they brought it to your life. And they've taught over 1,000 college-age students this course called Designing Your Life. And then they wrote a book about it because they were like, our 25-year-olds, 20-year-olds keep telling us, this is awesome stuff, guys, you got to write a book about it. Because they did this course, these young people did this course, and they were like, thank you to these guys. So they've written a book, and they've also got a video course, and it's really, really new, right? Their video course, some of my friends are here, by the way, to support me. These are my two friends. And they're taking the course, and we're working through it together, and it's just really, really, it's so helpful that I was so excited when I got invited to speak, because I was like, I have to tell young people about this resource. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about it now as we move towards concluding here. So design thinking is designers don't think their way forward, they build their way forward. So remember, we keep talking about this, we think all the time, but for designers, they do things, right? They do things. They build their lives forward. And there's 5 mindsets, particular ways of thinking. Again, I'm just going to give you little tidbits here, but the book really explains it more fully. But you want to be curious. Inviting exploration about your life. Okay, we're talking about your life here right now. Not a product, but your life. Be curious about it. What is this thing about? What am I doing here? Be curious. Try stuff. So designers have what's called a bias to action. They'll talk about it for a little bit, but they got to start building. They got to start building prototypes, lots of different things to see what's going to work the best. So they say apply this also to your life. Try some things. You're interested in skateboarding? Skateboard. See what that's like. You interested in like computer programming? Wow, take a computer program, like just try stuff. Try stuff. Reframe problems. I'm going to talk a bit more about this, right? Because designers say they don't ever get stuck in their lives. Because the minute you feel like you're stuck, you just got to start doing things. Start doing some other things. No, it's a process. Your life, you guys, is a process. It takes time to figure it out. And actually, let me tell you a secret right now. You don't actually ever really figure it out. You just keep listening to yourself and building it as you go. Ask for help. And this is where you connect with other people. And they tell you all the ways to do this. They say, think about your life the same way as you think about designing products. And they say this, what is a well-designed life? It's a life that makes sense to you. A life in which who you are, what you believe, and what you do are all aligned. So what they're saying is they're trying to lead you towards a coherent life. You're sitting there, you're like, fine, I know this. Tell me how. I want that. How do I do that? But they tell you how. They have all these practical exercises in the book to help you through this journey. And the key thing they talk about is this. They say there are a whole bunch of dysfunctional beliefs that people have about life. Poisonous beliefs, in a way, that are really, they call dysfunctional beliefs are narrowing and limiting. He says we need to reframe them. He says we need to relieve people of the notion that dysfunctional beliefs are true. So I want to show you some of these dysfunctional beliefs that are not true. I should already know where I'm going. Not true. Okay? I think that so often as young people we get this sense of like, I should already know what I'm doing. I should have it figured out by now. That is a dysfunctional belief. It is not true, and it limits you, and it stresses you out. So how do you reframe that? They say you can't know where you're going until you know where you are. And for each of these dysfunctional beliefs, they have an exercise and some ideas to go along with it. Don't have the time or space to do all that now. I'm just going to give you little ideas. They talk about this idea of, in terms of knowing where you are now, of filling out this dashboard. They said there's 4 main areas in our lives that are good to pay attention to. Love, which doesn't just mean a partner, a romantic partner. It can mean friends and family. Play, work, and health. And they said we should always be able just to check in, to figure out where am I right now, if this is like a gauge in your car, like low fuel and high fuel, if you want to look at it that way. And just to every now and then, to take stock. How are things going in my life right now? Is my love, am I up here? Am I down there? Where's my play? You know, just so we get a sense of how am I right now? There's no one way to be, but how am I right now? And you can see how this links a bit with the contemplative practices as well, like what's going on for me right now. A few more before I end. I should know where I'm going. Quite similar. The other one was I should already know where I'm going. The I should know where I'm going is kind of something that we continue to say to ourselves as we grow. And they say this, I won't always know where I'm going, but I can always know whether I'm going in the right direction. Yeah, fine, but what's the right direction? Right? What's the right direction? But they tell you how to figure that out. Right direction is, and they talk about building a compass, but the way you build a compass is by writing out literally and thinking about your work view. What do I want? What is work to me? What is work for? What do I think work should be? In general, what's my work view? And what's my life view? What's life about? What should life be like? Right? And they actually, like, it takes, a long time to do these practices, to do these exercises. But when you get your life view and your work view, and they come together and they're in harmony, that creates your compass, kind of your direction, like not your job, not your specific career, but your direction of where you're going. They say if you start to feel like not so good, or like uncomfortable, or you're more sad than is normal, because some sadness is normal, but you're more sad than normal, they say, check into your compass. Look again at what your work view and life view is, and then look at your life, and are you living those two things together? Because you might not be feeling so hot, because you're not really living your work and life view. But it takes time to figure out your work view and your life view, and they tell you how to do that, okay? But another key idea, this is my favorite one. I love this. They say that we've lost the ancient art of wayfinding, and we need to teach our young people that this is how to help them in their lives. Wayfinding is figuring out where you're going when you don't know your destination. I love that. Figuring out where you're going even though you don't know your destination. You need a compass and a direction, right? And your work view and life view give you a bit of a direction. But just like, if you're trying to find what is that ocean? The Atlantic Ocean, right? You're going to follow the stars. You've got your direction, the Atlantic Ocean, but you don't know exactly how you're going to get there. But you need your compass. But you have to pay attention to the stars along the way. But what are your stars? These are your stars. Remember that aliveness you had when you were sort of talking about what you might possibly do? Anything that provides energy for you or in which you feel engaged, those are your clues. Those are clues to help you find your way. So if you're in something right now that does not energize you, that does not engage you, that really upsets you and kind of leaves you feeling down and bored, those are clues, right? Paying attention to the clues and knowing that you can actively co-create your life. Right? You can decide as you start to listen to yourself. So energy engagement, another dysfunctional belief. Work is not supposed to be enjoyable. That's why they call it work. Right? Well, actually, enjoyment is a guide to finding the right work for you. That there really is a belief with designing your life that you can create a job, create a career, find that career that is enjoyable. You spend most of your life working, people. I do believe that in some way, there has to be some sort of energy and enjoyment and engagement with it. So again, that's your clues along the way. And what do the guys do? They have all sorts of handouts and exercises. How do I find out what engages me and what energizes me? Well, you gotta work at it. And they say you gotta keep this. They call it the good time journal. So keep this good time journal. You just keep a log of all your activities that you do in general over the course of a few weeks. and find out what, these are the little gauges on the side. So for example, if I put, you know, presenting tonight, presenting at 7 p.m. My engagement would be high. I love doing this. My energy would be high. I love doing this. Earlier today, I was doing emails and phone calls, which is a part of my job that I don't love. And I wrote down my engagement was here, my energy was about there. I'm just keeping track of it. You do this for a few weeks, and then look back over it. You need to take time with this stuff. It's your life, right? Like, take time with it. You've got to build in silence, stillness, reflection, keeping track of stuff so you can learn more. Notice where your gauges were higher. It's not going to say, you know, you should be a lawyer, right? It's not going to tell you that. But it's going to give you more information about who you are and what engages you and what enlivens you. 2 more, and I'm getting towards my conclusion. I have to find the one right idea. Actually, designers would say you need a lot of ideas that I can explore and any number of possibilities for my future. So, and this goes on to this other idea. Well, I actually need to figure out my best possible life, make a plan, and then do it. And they actually say, you know what? You've got more than one life sort of in you. There are multiple great plans. There's probably a few. An hour ago, I had you think of 3. What 3 things could you do in a parallel universe? Maybe all 3 of those are awesome. Maybe all 3 of those would help you have a great life. Awesome. You can choose one, and that might be what you do for the rest of your life, great. But you might choose one, and then change it partway through. It's always just about paying attention. But the key thing here, you guys, is that there's not one thing, and then if you don't choose that, you've got it wrong. That's not how it works. They ask a question in this book, say, how many lives are you? Right? How many are you? And they talk about this Odyssey Plan, and this takes a lot more time, but really what it is just making 3 different plans about your life and how it can be. It's like the parallel universes thing, but with lots more writing and investigation and talking about somebody. Bless you. So, what I want to do, and part of why I'm really excited to be here, is I want to help create a world where we don't ask this question anymore. This idea of, what if I choose the wrong thing? You only think you're going to choose the wrong thing if you think life looks like this. If we keep perpetuating the idea that life is, there's only one thing, and if I don't get that one thing, I've screwed it all up, that's a dysfunctional belief. So I don't think you can make a wrong idea. You can make continual choices as you go. This is more what life is like. That's what it's like. And being okay with that. Or another way, I saw this on Facebook the other day. I don't know if you've seen this, right? What I planned, what actually happened. And again, I want to live in a world where this doesn't exist anymore. Where we say, you know what? This is actually what life looks like. This is really what life looks like. It's all over the place. We have a direction, right? We've got our compass. We know we want to head somewhere that helps us feel alive and engaged. And we're going to try all sorts of things as we get there. This is my friend Maria. She's 88 years old. She already knows that life goes like this, right? So many of our elder people are wise. They know it already. But I don't think wisdom should just be for the oldies. No way. No. I think that we have wisdom too. That young people have wisdom. It's in there. We know it. We just have to believe that we can find it. And contemplative practices and design thinking can help us get that inner wisdom. Here's the last one. I finished designing my life. The hard work is done. Everything's great. That does not happen. Here's the reframing of it. You never finish designing your life. Life is a joyous and sometimes sad, never-ending design project of building your way forward. Keep building your way forward. Okay? So I kept building my way forward, and I'm still building my way forward. I'm continuing to teach and train, which I love to do. That engages me and energizes me. I moved to this unbelievable city here. I met a man and married him. It was wonderful. And I'm continuing now to still build my life as I go and create it differently and give my energies where I think they can have meaning. So life is not a problem to be solved, okay? It's something to be engaged with. You engage with your life, and you can get really good at making it up as you go along, right? As long as you listen to yourself. And there are practical ways to do that. And if you listen to yourself, you can help direct your life in the way that you want it to. You can do that. Yeah? Yeah. So go and do that. And I'm here to help. Thank you.